Hi dear viewers and victorious creators of my channel. Today I have decided to introduce you to one of our Armenian national recipes, which is called Dolma. Sometimes in Western Armenian it's called Dolma, but it's the same thing, just different names. Dolma is usually stuffed vegetables recipe. We have about 150 types of dolmas. Each region of Armenia and Armenian diaspora is using its own recipe, but in total the ingredients are very similar. For the beginning, we have to start with the vegetables needed ones for this recipe. We have to buy tomato, bell pepper, cabbage, eggplant, zucchini or squash, whichever you have in your area. I'm also using quince, and if you don't find quince you may use apple, but it has to be a little bit sourish apple, so I'm using semi-sour apple. I may put both together in the same recipe. And also my mom is usually using dried plum. Each of the vegetables will have one plum inside. Actually it's not pitted, and you have to warn your guests to be careful while eating. During the preparation I will show you how I'm gonna put it, so you warn your guests to make sure that they take out the plum at the beginning before they start eating the whole vegetable. Continuing with the needed products, we will need rice. I'm using jasmine brown rice, but you may use whatever rice you have. Better to be fast cooking one. This is the rice. Amount of rice will be 1/4 of the meat that you are gonna use, because we are going to use ground beef and also a little bit of ground pork, but I'm skipping the pork as it's bad for cholesterol, trying to decrease the cholesterol level. And also going to the herbs, you will need as many herbs, dried ones, as you have. So I'm using all the dried herbs that I have. It will be cilantro, it will be mint, it will be parsley, basil. I will use also citron, which is very important for this recipe. If you can't find citron, you may use a little bit oregano, the Italian herb, and also I'm using dried dill, D-I-L-L. Also I'm going to add a little bit of butter, unsalted one, maybe 2 tablespoonfuls. We are going to use a little bit of turmeric powder, a little bit of somach, the red ground spice, salt, black pepper. I may put red pepper as well, like the ground paprika. And the most important, don't forget your gloves. I'm usually keeping my gloves in this container, opening from here. And for stuffing all these vegetables, we are going to use a teaspoon with a long tail. This usually people use for making coffee, and I also use for making tolma. So let's start. First step is to boil water in a small pot and boil your cabbage inside. I'm going to show you how to start preparing the cabbage to be boiled in a salty water, so later you can use it and making kind of wraps. And inside will be meat and rice. Let's go ahead and start. After we have decided about the amount of meat, start adding washed and cleaned rice. So for 1 pound of meat I'm adding about 2 tablespoonfuls of rice. Start adding parsley. Then we'll add a little bit of mint. If you have fresh parsley, that's better. You may cut it and add. This is cilantro. My favorite, basil. I'm adding a lot of basil because beef meat loves basil and loves citro, the one that I like. This is the Armenian herb that I have a video. I will link it down so you will see how it looks like when it's fresh. And now I'm adding dried dill, D-I-L-L. And now I'm going to add the red powder, which is called somach. It's natural spice. It's soury and it has dark red burgundy color. Then I'm going to add a little bit of turmeric powder. Total will be 1/3 of a teaspoon. Let's go to another spice, which is black pepper. You know, I decided to add also a little bit of ground ginger, not too much, and salt. Also, I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. That's it. We are done with the spices and herbs. Now I'm going to start mixing it. And by the way, I will add also the insides of all the vegetables that I'm going to dig out from the tomato, eggplant, and zucchini and squash. I will dig the insides out, cut them into small pieces, and add into this mix. And that will be the beginning of my dolma, because now that you see, it's not that much, but after adding all those vegetables, it will be enough for making one-time dinner for about 6 people. We have to boil some water. Before we put the cabbage into the boiling water, we have to prepare it so it will kind of separate the leaves by itself. After we make a square around this head or bottom of the cabbage, this part, I'm also going to make a cut in the middle, like so. Kind of making an X sign, like 1 and 2. And now I can put it into the boiling water, making more square. Going into the boiling water. Be careful not to burn your fingers. We're gonna cover it for it to get ready. Later I'll show you how easy the leaves are coming out. Well, after this side of my cabbage is cooked a little bit, don't leave it too much. I'm going to remove all the leaves one by one. Look how easy they come out after you boil them for 2 minutes. And prepare some type of container, or I'm using the top of my pot. I'm just dropping like that. And the rest stays to boil more, because see, these ones are not softened yet. These are hard to take out. You may use fork. Okay, and now I'll turn it upside down to boil on the other side, and whatever comes out, it means it's already semi-cooked. Okay, the rest stays in the boiling water and leave it to cook. After removing the leaves, we're gonna leave them to cool down a little bit, and later we'll go ahead and start using them. Cutting, preparing. We're gonna add cut or blended red onion. For 1 pound, I'm gonna use 1 medium-sized red onion. I will cut the onion into small pieces. If I had a blender, I could blend it. My mom had taught me how to cut the onion. That way it's faster, but lots of juice is jumping out of the onion. Sometimes it gets into your eyes, sometimes to your mouth if you are talking. That's why I'm not using that technique. It's just chopping around the whole onion, because in this way my eyes don't tear. The meat was in the fridge. I had covered it with plastic wrap. Well, now that the cabbage leaves are separated and cooled down, I'm going to start cutting them and preparing for wrapping.